So just to demystify a few things about the systems master data versus the project master data versus the original data and so on and so forth. So one of the aspects to look at is when we're working with EPLAN, we have what is called a systems master data. And basically what the systems master data is everywhere or all this stuff that you have installed in your server. If you're running off a server, if you're running in a company where pretty much everyone's using the same information or same data to create their projects. This information can be found under the user setting management, and you have here directories. The directories that you see here, this is basically where your systems master data points to. So ePlan will fetch the projects in this folder. ePlan will fetch the template data, the symbols, the forms, and so on and so forth. So the information that I'm displaying here is the reference point of this is where all when I start up a project, ePlan will fetch the data. We'll look into these folders to build the project master data. So again, this is the systems master data where all the information that you've installed, all your plot frames, all your part data, your scripts, or whatever schemes, and so on and so forth that you're saving or that you're working or that you're creating are going to be found. And under normal circumstances, this is basically found on the server. So if you're working with a multitude of colleagues, the server will house all this data and we'll just point to it. Okay, now you'll notice that under utilities parts management, okay, sorry, utilities master data, you'll have another one here called synchronized systems master data. What ends up happening is that when you install new versions of ePlan, there's always a folder that gets installed by default. So when you run the default installation, you'll see three instances of where things are going to be installed. And one of those instances is basically a backup folder where all your new, if you will, systems master data, or where all your the new symbol libraries or the new plot frames, the new forms, anything that you're installing from a new version, let's say as we're speaking of migrating to 2.8. So everything when I install 2.8, I'll have a backup environment of all the new stuff that's going to be installed as of 2.8. As you know, in ePlan, when we move on to new versions, there's always optimizations. There's going to be new symbol libraries. There's going to be new symbols added to my symbol libraries. And this is something that ePlan manages and handles and adds on. There's going to be new words added to the dictionaries for translation, let's say. There's going to be new forms that ePlan HQ has created and now has added to the new installation of version 2.8. And basically where this is found, it's you'll find this information usually gets installed into a folder called program data, and you'll have your ePlan. No, it's actually going to be, and you should find that under users, and you'll find it under um, public, yeah, an ePlan, and you'll have a folder called data. Now, the information that you see here is basically backed up information. So this is new stuff that was installed. So it's all the default plot frames. So these are all the standard defaults that ePlan has. If ePlan did update or made adjustments to whether they be plot frames, forms, or symbol libraries, this information will be updated, but will not necessarily be automatically migrated to your systems master data residing in your server. So this is not something that ePlan partakes. It's not going to overwrite existing information that you've created or you've modified. It's not going to do that, technically overriding that. What it will do, it'll give you the benefit of actually updating some of the stuff that was new in the new release. So let's say in this case here, 2.8, and that information will be here. And when I call up this master data synchronization, this is exactly what I'm being displayed. So what this basically shows me is that that this folder that I just showed you, where ePlan installed the new 2.8 stuff, is in your C drive or wherever default it goes to, wherever you want it to go. And then this is just like a backup. So What I can do with this is I can say here, oh, there's a special symbol library. Of course, in my case, it's identical. A common um, workflow recommendation is always to update when you get new stuff. So all the special symbol libraries is, um, that EPLAN uses by default, additional forms that EPLAN uses by default. And there is one in particular that is crucial, and that is something that we should always periodically check. And that is, I think it's already been updated. I'll put it in order. Let's see, and here is yeah, it's already been updated. So it's you should see one called function definition. Um, oh, sorry, it's right here. Function definition library. Yes, this is crucial. So ePlan, when they get new versions, 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, whatever version is coming up, they're always making adjustments and fine tuning the function definition libraries, which can contain additional features for terminals, for devices, and so on and so forth. So if they made an adjustment to, let's say, the terminal properties. So, we can do multi-level, we can do different terminal types, let's say, as an example. What ends up happening is that the function definition library can get optimized. So if your function definition library is not identical to the default one that got installed with a new version, that means your function definition library is older. So and you can verify that too. So you do have timestamps here, and you can see, you can see here this. Well, this is just a part. So this dates from 2007 and so on and so forth. So there's some older stuff that I might need or I might want to look into updating. And of course, as I stated, the function definition library is crucial. I would highly recommend you to always have that up to date. So what this function here will do, it'll grab the new data and migrate it over to your system's master data. So in your case, if you're running off a server and everyone else is using this is a task that we recommend, maybe the ePlan manager, or maybe if I don't know if you have a dedicated librarian that manages all the ePlan data, he would be in charge to actually do this kind of task, and most likely off hours, since it's not something that you're going to be doing when everybody's going to be in production mode. So yeah, we highly recommend always when you get new migrated data, uh, verify if there's something interesting and make sure that we're identical across the board. So now what we've done here is we demonstrated that we have the new data that's coming in from the default installs of the new versions. If there's anything new, anything updated, we're going to migrate that over to our systems master data. Okay, so we haven't even touched the project just yet. So that's basically in a nutshell on that topic. The next topic is you have a project, you're working on it, and you have here under utilities, same area, master data, but you have another one called here synchronized current project. The one we were looking at earlier was synchronized systems master data. So this is like your server. We want to synchronize your server with new information that is delivered with the new versions. Then we have this one here called synchronized current project, which basically enables you to update the project that you're working with. So if there is a case, and you'll have the same type of dialogue that we just saw earlier, the only difference is that this will grab your system's master data information and basically verify it, check it with what's in your project right now. And of course, same thing applies. If there's anything that you notice that is not working properly in your project, you made some changes and they're not being seen, or and so on and so forth. So you might want to check it here and make sure that everything's identical. And an example here again is this, see here, the function definition library. So the function definition library here is stating that it's actually older. So my newly created or my newly updated function definition library that I have in ePlan in my system's master data is actually newer than what I have in my project. So what are the pros and cons? Well, the pros are obviously that what I can do in this particular case, if I have some new functionality in my function definition library, I would like to update that stuff into my project. So that would be, a good thing that I could do, and and it would be best practice to do so. But if in the case of an as-built, if the project that you're looking at is an older project and it's already stamped and it's already sealed, you're not supposed to touch it anymore. Nobody's supposed to, you're just looking at it and you notice this, difference. then it's up to you to decide, no, 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 I'm not going to touch it. It's an as-built. There's no need for me to update function definition libraries or anything, basically, because that is just a project that is sealed stamped, and we're never going to touch that project ever again. Okay, but in this aspect here, since I'm still working in my project and I want to make sure that maybe if I'm using multi-level terminals, or if I'm using different devices, relays, or motors, or saddle jumpers, or connection definition points, and so on and so forth, if these are basically they're giving me issues, or I'm realizing them, I'm doing an insert symbol and I'm not seeing the proper definitions being defined, and so on and so forth, well, then of course here is a clear indicator where I have to actually come in here and update my project. So by doing that task, what I've done now is I have my function definition library is identical. It's one-to-one to what my systems master data is. So now what I've done, I've just updated my project. So now my project will have, maybe if I had some issues with it, maybe when I was inserting, I were getting error messages or something. Now these things are identical and everything should be fine and good to go. So that's the difference between the three. So project master data, systems master data, and the original data that I showed you earlier, which is basically this one here. What I showed you is basically to show you the differences between this information that gets installed by EPLAN when you install a new installation of the new versions. This is basically just backup. So this is just um, the function definitions, the forms, the plot frames, the symbol libraries, but everything that was default created by EPLAN. So if ever you messed around with it, ever you played around with that, but you messed it up and you want to just set things back to the way they were, you can actually use this as a backup. And of course, if you have some issues in your project, you can use this task here to synchronize your master data, basically grabbing the information that you have on your server that is basically what everybody's using, and bringing that into your project so that everything will be one to one. All right. Any other questions on that? Let me know.